Sunny or Higgins Beach Reynolds. They're so focused on the beach market.
Okay, we are live, so we will come to order, please. We have a quorum, just barely.
Oh, nice.
Thank you for making it. This should be a short meeting, I think, just kind of review what's next and where we go from here. So soon as Lisa, well, we can start with minutes. If there's no objections to accept the minutes as drafted.
So move.
All in favor? Minutes are accepted.
You want me to bring up this or?
Yeah, you didn't make slides, right? Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, just so I know, I don't forget what we're supposed to talk about.
Can you tell yet if James is in there?
There's somebody in it. I think if you go up there, you can pull the.
You can make me a.
Yep. So immediately the next steps, as she's pulling that up, we're gonna on Thursday, we'll present our recommendation to the board. They have the packet already, right? You guys all have the packets?
The Harriman,
Mhm.
yeah, the presentation.
Yep, that's the presentation. So so we'll present that on Thursday, and then I don't know if there's any obligations for town council meetings after that. I think you guys work with the council, right? So,
And they've all been invited, so.
okay. So then it's really just about kind of communications and what happens now for summer. One of the things I thought maybe, was worth doing today was sort of figuring out what events do we want to set up information tables at and things like that. All that being said, I am going to make a recommend. I'd like to talk to the committee, but I'm sort of leaning towards making a recommendation to the board that the SBAC as it currently is disbanded, and then a campaign task force or something like that gets stood up for the summer. I feel like this group has given quite a bit of time, that fulfilled the charge, both of SBAC 1 and SBAC 2 as it was drafted, and now we kind of move into campaign mode. The members of the committee may not want to do that kind of work. It's different than just figuring out and making the recommendation. So thoughts on that, with the committee. Obviously their school board is here, but that was sort of where that was gonna be sort of my last comment on Thursday after we make the recommendation.
Does that open the door for advocacy, or is it still informational?
So the legalities of like what how the town can, I think it can be just informational only. I think you would have to, I'm speculating, so please, those.
No, you're right,
help
you're
me
right.
out, right? So
Right.
I think if there was a group of citizens that wanted to form more of a campaigning sort of thing rather than just informational, I think they could do that, but it cannot be under the control of the elected bodies. Is that right, Shannon?
That's correct.
Yes, yeah, we can only do
Right.
information. This is the project, this is what the vote is, this is how much it is, not.
This is
support
why
this.
the program, the recommendation is what it is. This
Yeah.
is what the recommendation
Yeah.
includes, all information.
No.
But no, like, vote yes, because you're getting da-da-da.
That may be worth pursuing, because then that group could also do promotional signage and things like that, separate from the school, yeah.
Nice.
That's what happened in the past, right? I mean, all the signs said vote yes, right, were provided by.
Yeah, the supporters of Scarborough Schools.
Is that a distinct group?
That is.
Okay.
Is it still active, or was it activated just for the last referendum?
No, it's been around for quite a while.
Okay.
I'm just, I'm thinking back to that summer of 2023, and I have this distinct memory of looking at the tax group, and they were fully active that summer. And I remember the campaign signs were already up in July and August. I just have that in my mind.
I think it's a good idea, Charlie, from the standpoint of like you said, there's people here that may not want to continue in that role, but I think we could also maybe attract some other people that have a different skill set or something that could be beneficial to that communication effort.
Agreed.
Charlie, is the intent to figure out how many folks here want to continue on, I would imagine the communication committee is what would move forward, is that what you're thinking?
Yes, although Leroy's not here, but, yeah, I mean, there's 12 of us in the room, so I don't know who's interested in continuing. I'll just say for myself, certainly willing to like attend information nights and things like that, but tracking emails and I'm kind of like, I'm gonna take a step back from all of that stuff. And will support from answer questions and live events and things like that. That's sort of the most I can do this summer, so.
Absolutely. I mean, the communications team is gonna be, but you're probably putting some tables up at events. I imagine we'll wait until we get approval through town council, right? Before we're actually kind of out there, because it's not the plan until Board of Ed and town council have approved it, but hopefully is that July 16th? That's the next town council meeting, right? So hopefully after that, so there's some concerts in the park where we can certainly set up a table and we'll look for a person or two to sit there. And then Summerfest, I think, is probably a big opportunity. And again, a table there. So we look for a couple of people for that. And I think as we get into the fall, we'll be looking to reach out to, like seniors communities and maybe holding an event like presenting. That might be a person or two. Paul and I will certainly work on materials that we can disseminate that really sort of lay out, all the facts, and make sure the facts are as clear as possible. So that people can really understand what they're going to be voting on. So we'll be doing that and getting that out. But I think in the summer, if people in this room or friends can help to say, go to a concert, sit at a table, Motor Booty Affairs coming up. I think this week though. I don't know, it doesn't really matter, but my point is go to a concert, have some fun and tell people about the project.
Yeah.
Spread the word.
We've got some of this coming up under communications anyway.
Yeah.
Um,
So as far as the SBAC 2, as we all know it, I think today will be our last meeting as we are, and then something gets reformatted into, more of a communication / campaign kind of thing, but. So that, I think that's it as far as next steps go. I do think, those of us who are in the room who have been through it, it's probably worth it to kind of put together a little bit of a comms plan. How do we want to package this up over the course of the summer? And obviously, not all of us will be part of that, but I think it would help Elizabeth. I'm assuming you're going to stay on
Yes.
communications through the summer, but would certainly help that group with, how they want to go. And then anybody in the room that's willing to volunteer, I think just, work, show of hands and.
Reach out.
Okay.
We'll send in, I'm assuming the SBAC email is still going to be active, so we will send out a sign up sheet for events and stuff, and people will know what's happening, so. Cause I'd love to see you guys, I'm gonna miss you, so we gotta get together.
In regards to town council, after Thursday's meeting, is there a set date for the town council to hear from? Is it July? Do they hear from the school board or they hear from the committee?
So they're joining us Thursday, this
Okay.
Thursday. And they'll hear the presentation. Generally, in the past, what I do is I would, hopefully, or sometimes they stay and listen in and kind of hear what the will of the board is.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I send an email and let them know what we voted on and where we landed, so that they have a firm understanding, but their plan is for them to be there Thursday.
I guess my question is, when does it get approved by town council? What are
That's
those-
the July 16th.
That's the
meeting.
July 16th,
Yeah.
okay.
And April said that she thought that she couldn't be here tonight, but she thought that between the 16th and the August meeting, they would also be able to do the work on, not finalize, but get some progress towards what the referendum would actually look like.
Because I think, don't hold me to this, but I think in August is when the council will we'll get the referent question.
So they'll finalize that,
Mhm.
it's most likely.
I don't know if I'm jumping ahead, but I do think we need a quick decision on who's answering these inquiries that come up in the meantime. Is that a school board?
Yeah, I was kind of
Yeah.
thinking about that today with,
Yeah.
I have two thoughts on it. First is that since this is disbanding, I don't think that Charlie can answer anymore. That kind of takes him out of that role, and I think would hand it back over to us. That's where my thought process is, but I haven't talked to April yet, and I just wanna see what she thinks. Well, that, and also Jillian's our comms person, so at least you have the consistency there. Yeah, but like, so the board runs a little bit different from the councils. The way the council, when emails come into the council, any counselor can answer them. The way that the board operates when emails come in, the chair answers. So right now it's me. So I answer all inquiries that come in from the community. So it runs a little bit differently, but, I just want to make sure she feels good with that. And then it takes something off your plate, because my other concern is that, as you're thinking of volunteering, this has been a lot of work up until this point, and it's not like, this is when you hit the pedal even more, the gas pedal even more, and there's a lot in the way of meetings and community forums and door-to-door knocking and summer events and all the things that I would really hate for anybody to be burned out, right? And so, if you can help, please help for sure at any of the events, but then this is something I can take that,
That's excellent.
yeah, could free you up, right?
Happily.
One, just a suggestion, obviously, I think you guys have seen out of the emails, I don't know if the whole committee has, the Pleasant Hills community, I think would like some sort of like, town hall, talk about the trees, and what can be done there. I think sooner rather than later, that should happen. I'm happy to join in that if you need me to,
Yeah.
but, the few, you guys saw the few emails, so for the rest of you, Matt Heath, is that his last name?
Keith, yep.
Yeah, who's spoken at the forums and he's been here, so. Oh, he's actually online. Good, yeah, so he's emailed us a couple of times about it. It's certainly a concern in that neighborhood, so something that we probably need to address with them early
Yeah,
on.
absolutely. Yeah, he and I had a great conversation this week. We
Yeah.
just talked a little bit about it and just talked about the fact that Harriman hasn't had time yet to do more than sort of a boilerplate.
Yeah.
Like, here's a vegetative buffer, but now that they're getting into the plans, they're gonna be able to really take a look at what that's gonna look like. And obviously, we need space for playgrounds,
Yeah.
right? And that probably takes precedence, but there may be some creative ways to solve the situation.
And then I think it was somebody else emailed, or was it you that forwarded that one, Jim? Something about lights. They're concerned about if there's no trees, then, lights hitting the bedrooms and stuff like that. So, understandably, a lot of questions from particularly the abutters there. So, probably a worthy effort to set something up in that neighborhood.
Similarly, I'm hearing a lot of negative feedback from the Eight Corners community as to why that lot was maintained, so you may want to consider another town hall event. Meeting with them about that.
And why the decision was made to rebuild on that lot as opposed to.
Why the lot was maintained.
30 million reasons.
Yeah,
Yes. Yeah, I think that, from what I've seen so far, right, the feedback has been mostly positive. I think I've seen, a lot of like, yeah, would have liked, but understand this is the one that's gonna pass, so a lot of that kind of, which I think is, was the winning argument really, right, in this room. And so, I haven't seen a lot of like hate and discontent in the responses so far. They've been pretty, glad we're at a recommendation. A lot of positive feedback on the neighborhood schools, people really happy that we're retaining that. Haven't seen much on cost. So I think all in all, seems like we're in a good place.
So, I think so. I mean, I think people who follow the process really appreciate the deliberation that it took to get here. And they appreciate the compromises that were made in the room. I mean, I've heard that from more than one person. And I don't know if you guys have read the article that was in the Scrubber Now newsletter. I sent it around today, but it ran Thursday and it was excellent. Dana, it was practically Dana's first week on the job, and she did it. Sometimes I think getting an outsider's view of what's going on is terrific because they are able to lay it out, just take a slightly different slice and just kind of put it out there. Like, here's how I understand it. And I thought it was a really excellent article and explained how we got where we were and what the trade-offs are. And you should definitely take a look at it and share it with friends. I'll put it on the website. That's good.
I mean, the only other thing I think to talk about, right? So, well, we didn't really talk about strategic comms, but I don't know if you want to wait until and have that conversation with the communications group, or do you want to?
I have it with, I mean, I'm interested if there's stuff that you want to share, if you've got some ideas about what we need to communicate, but I mean, I think clearly, the great thing is that a lot of it is fact-based. I mean, we can talk about the need. We can talk about how the solution, solves for that need. We can, put the cost in context and explain, what costs what. We have a $30 million middle school plan. And maybe with a $10 million bump up. I think the more people can understand where the costs are coming from, the better. Because it sounds like a lot of money when you hear, 130 or $140 million. But once you start understanding what it's being allocated to, it starts to make sense. So a lot of what we need to do is just get those facts out.
Yeah, my only suggestion is you're gonna have multiple target audiences that
Yeah.
you're gonna have to message differently, right? And so you're gonna have people who are disappointed that you're not getting a consolidated school, and you're gonna have to talk about why. I think that the construction, simultaneous construction with schools in session for 3 years is gonna be probably the thing that an opposition group will hang on to. And so why is it that way, right? What's the counter to that? Why did we make that plan? Make sure that we're prepared to address that. And I think that's an easy one, right? It's the alternative is what was it last year? Do you remember, Lisa? I think it was like a 12-year plan, right? If you did them in series rather than in parallel, you're 12 years down the road. So this is a short-term inconvenience, short-term of 3 years, but gets the project completed faster. So I would just make sure you get ahead of that.
I think communicating with seniors is going to be really important because they are definitely underrepresented, and a lot of our communications is very easy to hit school parents, and the seniors are just not, and they don't interact with social media in the same way that parents in their 40s do, and so we need to really make that effort. But we can, I think we have some inroads now at Hillcrest maybe, and at Piper Shores and other communities where we can really just kind of go to them. And take the information there and try to help them get on board and understand the value of this to the community, even though they don't have kids in school now.
I do think that target audience of the elementary and all school age kids' parents is important to really hit that, because if you have a first grader who's coming home with a smile on her face every single day because she loves her teacher, they are not seeing the need of what the walls look like and what all the reasons, that, their kid's in a portable, but if they're coming home with a smile, they're coming home with a smile.
Right.
Like, we still have to let them know, like, the condition of this portable and that I think that audience doesn't always have the true picture of what it's like in those classrooms because their kids have.
It's so interesting.
To add, I was just gonna say, to add to that, these are big lifts. I don't know that you guys would do them again, but prior to the last referendum, my husband and I had attended one of the school walkthroughs that were done. So that could be another way to your point, try to get people actually into the school to see the condition.
And I think like having, the director of facilities who has an eye, the technology people that, because there's cabling through some of those schools that are 40 years old that, we just keep leaving there and putting the next generation in, and there's, I think that there is some marketing, the selling is gonna be done for the, our parents as well.
I think for the, we need to, which we haven't all along, but sell the benefits as well, like to Jenna's point, that we should, for next fall, we can possibly have display boards or something and build excitement around this rather than we're, kind of came to a compromise.
Yeah.
And what are the benefits? And maybe some of it can be factual about there'll be X number of square feet additional for the music program for, and really have those things that if anybody's coming into the school, they see that. So they're not, their first thing they get isn't a bulldozer, it's the vision of what it's going to be.
Elizabeth, another senior community is Crystal Springs up off 22.
Okay, great.
I don't know if their clubhouse is finished yet or not,
Okay.
but
Thank
might be a way to get the seniors in North Scarborough.
Okay, great. Thank you.
One of the, just feedback from the last referendum, as somebody that didn't pay any attention to the school problem until about 2 months before the referendum, right? I was like, oh, what are we doing with the schools? I better get smart on this, right? And I talked to other people who felt the same way. The information that was, pro referendum, and I know you guys did a lot of work on it. It felt like I was being sold something, right? It didn't feel like it was purely informational. It felt like I was being marketed and sold. And and that was really part of the reason I got involved, because I just felt like I don't know what to believe, what's right, which way to go. And so I would just challenge, I think that that's going to be a challenge, is making sure that the information we put out to those who haven't been following this closely, but right, that the machine's going to get turned on here pretty quickly and it's going to be in front of them and they're going to try to get smart on it, but it doesn't feel like they're being sold to go make a yes decision, but rather they're being informed and educated to get to that yes themselves. That was, one of the things for me that made it hard to vote yes for it on the previous one. So. Any other thoughts on communications for the summer? Okay. I think at this point, obviously we're only 6:30, but I don't know that there's much else to go over. We can, yeah.
On the emails, just forward everything on to Sharon. And that would, for emails, is that the best way to go?
Yeah, the SBAC emails,
Yeah.
so I get them already.
Oh, you already get them.
Yeah, and I
Just
just
so you
sent
know.
April an email, so, as long as she feels good with it going forward, we'll just.
So then if you get emails, like personal emails, right, forward to SBAC?
Yeah, you can forward them to me, yeah, whichever.
Okay.
Yeah, unless you, if it's a friend asking you a question, and you prefer to answer it, please, please feel free. But if you need help or you would like us to answer it, absolutely, forward it to me and we'll take care of it.
And she answered all of our BOE, so if at the end of it all, you can
Yeah.
route it to the BOE.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Shannon, if we answer one personally, do you want to get copied on that, just to see what the interaction was, or?
I think that'd be
trying to
great.
vote up.
No, I think that would be great if you, I think it's good for us to know, right,
Right,
and hear
yeah.
what's going on, so yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely, I'd appreciate it, thank you.
Sounds like Charlie's about to wrap, so I will say for some 18 months and for some 7 months now. I've put in a lot of really awesome effort. We appreciate it. This charge was not easy to meet. There's a lot of demanding work on people who are volunteers. Parts of the community have all brought wonderful points of view and different things to the table. But I hope you all, commend yourselves and take a moment to appreciate how much work you've all put in, showing up week after week to extra meetings, analyzing information, taking it all in, talking to people, going above and beyond even just these meetings. So as myself as a parent in town and also as a school board member, thank you all for everyone's hard work and being here throughout this 18-month journey. That continues.
So,
We encourage everyone to come on Thursday night for the recommendation to the school board. part of that process.
Yeah, the more solidarity, right? Obviously, it was a split vote, but you know, I said all along, for me personally, success in this was as a passing referendum, and so, you know, I'm certainly gonna work to get behind the recommendation and you know, show that solidarity and kind of make sure that, you know, there will be dissenting voices, but the more we can, as a group who went through this process, show our support for the selected option, I think the more that helps to get it across the line, so.
And when it came to the two options, I loved them both. I had to vote for one.
Yeah.
But I would just as easily fully endorse and support the other. So I don't think it was, oh, I hate this one, love this one.
Right.
I think there were several people who said both were very good and had justifiable arguments for why it was the best proposal.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think having the fact that we had two really good options at the end made for great debate and meant that, you know, either option should be a viable solution. So, yeah. I did skip public comment at the beginning. I apologize, Matthew. I see your hands up. If there's no other comments in the room, though, yeah.
Question, particulars for Thursday night's meeting, time, place, I mean, presumably it's here, what time?
Here, we're gonna have spring sports prior, so more likely like a 7:45 start time for this, but our meeting itself, if you wanna come see spring sports, be acknowledged. So all the students that you guys just worked really, really hard to support, coming on in and kind of hearing all of those things.
Last year.
Yeah. That will be at 7, but more likely to head your recommendation around 7:45.
Okay, cool. So sorry I was late, I missed this, but as far as the presentation, is there a draft of that or?
There is, yeah. We decided not to put it up tonight
Okay.
to like steal the thunder for Thursday night, but we can send it around.
I think is it posted?
Is it posted already?
It should
Probably
be a
not.
part of our.
Yeah, but probably not, because we don't typically post this like that. Time. I can actually ask her to post
We
them.
can send it around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else before I go to public comment?
And
Charlie or Diane.
James, by the way, we did approve the minutes.
Yeah, I got that. Thanks.
All right, we'll go to public comment then. Matt?
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yep, we gotcha.
Awesome. Matthew Keith here. I felt so rude putting my hand up for so long, but I was afraid that you're going to forget the public comment. First and foremost, a bit of a broken record on this one. But seriously, thank you all so much for all your hard work. Even just watching it remotely, all the meetings, I could tell how much of a Herculean task it is. And I know that that is only like I have no actual felt sense for how hard it is. I think part of the reason that I didn't throw my hat in the ring to be a part of the committee was I have a new baby and I'm in grad school, but I know you all have a lot of commitments and things in your personal life. So thank you all for making that commitment and sacrifice for the town and for our kids. I really appreciate it. And I think you all did an amazing job. And I also wanted to thank you all for I had some great conversations with people over email and the phone, and for taking a look at Pleasant Hill and taking engaging our community seriously. I said it in the email, but just for everybody and for the public, in case anybody's listening, I'm very clear on why in the end minimal trees kept might be the best solution. And I hope in my advocacy it can be clear to everybody involved that I'm not necessarily pushing to keep trees at the cost of what the school needs. But I think as you guys were talking about, people who don't engage as much as us, people who don't follow it as closely, the initial reaction is like, whoa, there must be a better way. And so, I'm hopeful that maybe there's a way to keep a few more trees at least. But if in the end, you guys take another look at it, Harriman takes a look at it and can show like what the trade-offs would be and that the trade-offs would be too costly, I think at least there's we can really go to the community and illustrate what that is and illustrate that we took the concern seriously. So I appreciate that. And similarly, I'm glad to hear that you guys are going to engage with Eight Corners as well, because I think it's the same kind of story. Like if you follow and the reasons why the land acquisition wasn't going to happen, couldn't be a thing, the soil, all these things, it makes perfect sense. But the average person's not following this closely. And even at first comment of that, it's like, there's got to be a better way. So really just taking the approach you guys are talking about of having that empathy, trying to put yourself in the place of somebody who doesn't follow, and engaging, I think is great. And then, yeah, I don't know, sounds like maybe there's a place for people who weren't involved in the SBAC to become involved at this point. I would certainly be interested in engaging and helping with knocking on doors or whatever I can do to support getting this over the line. So I will stay in touch around that. And yeah, just thank you all again for everything. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Matthew. Appreciate it. Any other public comment? Any save rounds in the room? With that, motion to adjourn. All in favor? What?
Remember, no objections.
Yeah, I know. I screwed it up the last two times, so I'm just going on slow now. All right, we're adjourned. Thank you so much, guys. Appreciate it.